Let's go to our panel now, David Gazard and Eamon Fitzpatrick. We'll get to talk on those economic numbers in a moment. First, Eamon, you've been at the ASEAN summit along with various business figures from across the region. There's a lot of talk about growing that trade relationship. As someone who watches this closely, and as I say, you've been there at ASEAN, is there much optimism that the talk can be matched with action?
Well, thanks, Kieran. Look, there's a great mood here, actually, and there is more optimism than I was expecting. I think there's a couple of reasons. But when you look at the size of the ASEAN economy, I mean, it is pretty sizable. I think they're already the second or third largest trade partner we have. Indonesia, of course, is at least 2/3 of that. And I think it's a combination of things. A lot of the smaller ASEAN countries are starting to power along themselves, taking over that manufacturing base from the Chinese. The likes of Cambodia, I was with Prime Minister Han yesterday for a few moments, and we talked about that. And then you look at Indonesia, who have led from the front. They've undergone some serious transformation, real economic structural change in the past 10 years under the current the president. You look at that fuel subsidy reform, the investment in fintech, just growing their economy. And now they've had an election. There's a new president coming in Prabowo, and he's and the story there, of course, one-time opponent, now an ally, now continuing that economic reform path. And that's a great result for us. You look at some of those announcements they've been making over there, there will be a huge uplift in demand for Aussie produce, for our dairy, for all of our natural resources. And so we've sort of looked and talked a lot in this country about the need to diversify, particularly in the wake of China. And granted, the work is going in there, as Jim Chalmers said earlier, to fix that relationship. But I think ASEAN and Indonesia, really for us as a nation and our trade, it's a fantastic option. It'll grow very, very quickly. And I think that's probably partly why the Australian government has announced this week that $5 billion package to get Aussie know-how in green tech and renewables out into the region, because there's huge demand for it.
And this is a bipartisan position, David Gazard. I know from Prime Minister Morrison and Prime Minister Turnbull and other Liberal leaders over the years have made a big priority in trying to grow the relationship with that huge region on our doorstep.
Yeah, that's right. There's been a bipartisan push over quite a few years now to diversify our markets. To limit our reliance on China as one of our huge trade partners with the instability there and some of the things they're doing. But what this also does, and what was fostered under the previous Prime Minister, was closer security relations across the Quad. So I'm glad it's bearing fruit. I'm glad to see this government continue on the track with good trade and security advice in extending those policies, and let's hope we can build new markets right across the region and have them flourish for as long as possible.